Hey guys, today is going to be my second solve critique. Today I'm looking at the solves of my friend Peter, or thecuberpro as he goes by on YouTube. And yeah, we go to a lot of competitions together and we're about the same level on 3x3. And yeah, he sent these in to me like quite a long time ago, so sorry it's so late. I just totally dipped from YouTube for a while. But yeah, I'm going to look at three of his solves, look at some of his solutions, and then at the end suggest what I think would be a good improvement plan, because looking at specific cases is only so helpful, but having an overarching plan moving forward, I think is quite beneficial in terms of your overall progress as a cuber. All right, here we go. So here we have the first solve. Our cross pieces are here, 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 and here. So it's a bit of an awkward cross, and the way you execute it is you start like this, and you go D prime, and then put this guy in on opposite, then D2, and then regrip to put this guy in with an F and then L. So that's pretty good. Just a couple of thoughts on that. On that cross solution, it's definitely not terrible, but something to think about maybe. If you stuck with that solution, maybe like a better finger trick would be start the same, putting this guy in, and then since you're already in this grip, you can go D2 and do an F push with your left index, and then that sort of saves you that regrip of your right hand. So that would maybe be a small optimization. I know like that may or may not be a comfortable finger trick for you, but that definitely can come in handy. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention, let me just undo that, is maybe another way to do this would be a different solution entirely. And I don't think it's like clearly, better or worse than yours, but it's just different. And, I think it's worth looking at different cross solutions, because, it's good to be, have some varied options when you're looking at these. So if you face red, you can put blue in right away, and then that sets up green and red to be put in. Now here it's critical that you use the F move with your righty ring finger, so that goes in, and then you would have to regrip to put this guy in. So that would be one option. You could also do that same solution I just showed, except instead of facing red and doing it like that, you could do it facing orange, and so we would put blue in, and this time green red would go in like that. So a B with your left ring finger, and then again you would have to regrip. Yeah, I don't see any way around that regrip to put orange in. So those were sort of some of the things I saw on cross. Again, your solution was pretty good, but yeah, it's worth looking at some other options there. So moving on to your F2L, you finished your cross at this angle, and you chose to do your first pair as this green-orange, using keyhole into the front right. First pair into the front right, obviously isn't ideal. Something like this probably would have been a better first pair, but I say that sort of take that with a grain of salt, because you did this pair very quickly, very seamlessly after your cross, which tells me that you had planned this. So as long as you're planning your first pair, that's really the most important thing. So you went like this, and then I could tell you were watching this pair as your second, because you went into that very quickly after your first pair. Unfortunately, this blue-red guy had been made, so you didn't take advantage of that. But what you did here is, I think you could make an improvement here, because you took this guy out, which is fine. And then what you did is you did a U2 and then regripped into inserting, which I see that a lot, and I think it's a natural solution. But as far as finger tricks are concerned, and you do this in one of your later solves too, so keep this in mind. As far as finger tricks are concerned, I think it's way faster to take this guy out and then, and then finger trick it like this. There's just no reloads and no regrips, and that's generally considered a faster solution. So I would try to incorporate that into your solves. So let me just undo that. But what you did is still okay. You did here, and then inserted that, and then your look ahead here had a bit of a mistake. Maybe you were watching this guy go into the back pair, going into the back right, because you did a U prime, and then you saw this guy, so you did a U, and then rotated to do this pair. So that pair actually stayed preserved, so that was pretty nice. And then you looked ahead well to this guy, recognized that you had an opportunity to orient all your edges, so you sledged that in. And then I was very happy to see you do a left soon here, because yeah, I see like some people either AUF to do an anti soon, or like even worse, do a U2 into a back soon. So yeah, left soon here is definitely the play. And then you just had a T perm and you AUF'd it well like that. So good job. So for solve number 2, you had your cross pieces here, 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 and here, which is kind of a tricky cross, but you did it quite well. You started with the cube in this orientation, so, excuse me, facing your cross color can often be beneficial in terms of finger tricks, and you know, it just lets you start the solve a bit more ergonomically. So the way you solved this was to put this guy in, and then you did a D, R, like that, and then you just put green in. So as far as just, you know, if we were just looking at the cross, I think that's as good of a solution as you can make, and you used good finger tricks. You didn't have any, unnecessary reloads or regrips. So the only thing I would say there is, if you had changed the order a little bit in terms of the pieces, the order of the pieces you put in, you could have actually created a free pair, which, you know, can be hard to see with a cross this challenging. But yeah, it's, I guess, worth looking at. So if you had started with the D prime R and then put this guy in like that, so almost the same cross, just I changed the order a little bit, you actually end up with this free blue-orange pair. So, you know, that can be difficult to see sometimes, but yeah, something to think about. So after your cross, you finish your cross in this orientation, and your first pair was this green-orange. I think you didn't totally plan this one in an inspection, because you did kind of you were looking around a little and then did a U into this guy. So, you know, if you had planned this better in inspection, you could have just paired it up like that and then inserted. But okay, so you did this and then you inserted like that, which is fine. And then you looked ahead well into this pair. And the way you solved this was with this guy, and then you did what I would consider like to be the best solution here. You actually did what I was talking about in the last solve. You just did a double move like that. So that's a lot, like probably the best finger trick for that guy. But going back, if I just take like more of an overview, that solution solves both our right slots, which like is not great. So oftentimes we'll have to do, you know, 1 or 2 rotations from there, just to find better solutions for our remaining slots. So another good solution here that would allow us to fill up our back slots is to just do a sledge and then rotate to insert this into the back, and that would allow us to have 2 free front slots. But anyway, so you did it like this, which is also fine. And then you saw this guy. And then for this guy, again, I think the best finger trick would be that. I think that's undoubtedly the fastest one. But I can't remember if you double flicked this, but went like here, and then you might have regripped or something and done that. Obviously, you know, in this case, that's clearly the best solution because it gives us this free pair. So if you saw that, then well done. But in general, yeah, I think that other solution utilizing the double flick with our opposite hand is the best one. And then you were just left with this free pair. And then you had this OLL, which, you know, I'm sure you know, but the only thing to know about this OLL is to, you know, try and use two-sided PLL recognition by putting this sticker here. And in this case, it's quite a challenging one. But anyway, gives you this this RB perm, and you used this ALG, and then a U prime AUF. Okay, last solve. The first two I thought were pretty clean, but you know, this is my last chance, so I'm gonna tear this one apart. It had a PLL skip, which was nice, but I think there's some things you can improve on in the F12. So first, your cross pieces, you had this one, oops, sorry, low battery. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And the way you solved the cross was, again, you faced white, which is good, and you put the orange guy in, then rotated to put the blue, green, and then lastly, red. I couldn't find anything better for the cross, so I think that solution's fine. Unfortunately, you didn't see this guy as your first pair, which would have been a much nicer first pair, but that's okay, you can't spot everything. So the one you chose, and I'm guessing you saw this in inspection, was this one. And the way you solved it was to first, you regripped like this, and then used the wide F insert. So a couple notes on that from this angle. One, yes, it is a soft regrip, but you know, that's still, you know, maybe not the best. You don't need to regrip for that. You can do that U2 like this, and that, you know, just saves a bit of hand movement. So that's always positive. And so yeah, you did this guy, and then the wide F insert, you know, I think it's great at certain times, and you know, this might be one of them. I think you could make arguments for both cases here. You know, it flowed very well into the wide F. The only argument I could make for here is, you know, well, two of them really. You're solving into the back left instead of the back right, and actually rotating here allows you to see some more pieces. So, you know, stuff that you couldn't see back here. So yeah, I don't think there's a clear answer there, but there are always pros and cons to you know, different inserts. So, you know, it's something to think about. So we've got our first pair in the back right, and unfortunately you didn't see this pair, which I think this one was relatively easy to see, and that one would have been a nice solution into the back left, and you would have been left with your two front slots. But I guess, you know, you were probably looking into this pair. So you did this and rotated over, and again here from this position, you regripped your hand to do it like this, which is definitely not necessary. So going back, when we go to this position, definitely the best way to finger trick this solution is regripless and just U2 with our left. And that's definitely faster, so I would try to incorporate that one. The third pair you saw was this blue-red, which is good because this pair is a bit of a disaster, so this one's definitely the nicer option. And the way you solved this one was to hide the corner, which forced you to do this push move, and then you solved it like that, which is okay, but definitely I think there's a faster option here, which is to just hide the edge. I think it might save on a move, but more importantly, it trades a push move for just a standard U move. And then, yeah, that's definitely a nicer solution for that case. And for your fourth pair, you were left with this monstrosity. Yeah, that's a pretty bad one. The way you did it was to hide the corner, and then you didn't double flick here, you single flicked, which I might consider double flicking that, and then solved it like here. So that's definitely good in terms of preserving your edges. I don't know if you saw that or not. I can't say I have, a much better solution than that for this case. That, I would not be too happy if I got this case in a solve. Probably I would, to preserve edges also, I would probably rotate and do that, but I mean, that's not a great solution either. So yeah, that's just a tough case for your fourth pair. But you executed it fine. And then, this is what we all dream of. Soon, PLL skip. Nice. So moving on to some of the improvement plan ideas I have for you with, those solves in mind. The first thing is I would really, really encourage you to push yourself to become dual color neutral on white and yellow. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I think there are a lot of benefits to being dual color neutral compared to just a single color. And having two options for a cross, it isn't too much to look for in inspection. It's not too burdenous in that regard. And a lot of times when you can avoid having these really difficult crosses, it just sort of it has like this snowball effect. So when you're able to avoid these difficult crosses, it becomes easier to spot your first pair. Then when you can spot your first pair, you have an easier time looking for your second pair, and it has this sort of snowball effect. And so anytime you can avoid some of these really challenging crosses, I think you're going to see real benefits from. And I think the best way to do that would be to commit to being dual color neutral. The next thing I would focus on, if I were you, regardless of whether you commit or not to dual color neutrality, is cross finger tricks and orientations. So you're already pretty good with orientations. I saw 2 out of the 3 solves there. You started with your cross color on the front, which is often, I don't know what percent of the time, but quite often a great option for finger tricks. And then other times, sometimes if you're starting with a B move, you can have your cross color on the back. And so those are good tools to have in your arsenal. And then in terms of finger tricks, I think you're already pretty good at them, but just make sure you have the cross finger tricks nailed down. And there are quite a few of them. So stuff like this F push with your ring, be able to do that with both hands. The F like this, be able to do B moves with your ring. A big one I think is D2 double flicks with both hands. So if you're making your cross a D2 away, and you're doing the last few moves with your right hand, you definitely want to be able to D2 with your left to avoid a huge regrip, and vice versa. If you're doing stuff with your left hand, be able to finish it, that D2 with your right hand. So those two, and then I guess kind of the bonus one that I learned last year, which I do sometimes use, I got it from Dylan Miller, is this guy. So it comes in handy when you do an F after an R, and it's just, you sort of bring it down with that thumb. So yeah, I think that's kind of a neat finger trick. Those are the ones that I hear about that I think are useful. Just make sure you have all of those down pat. Next thing I would suggest is, I think your look ahead is honestly quite good. I know you're a very good Megamix solver, and so I see it in that, and your 3x3 solving, your look ahead is one of your strengths, no doubt. But I still think you could use slow untimed solves to your benefit, and the reason I say that is because I see slight inaccuracies in your F2L in terms of maybe rotations or regrips when you don't have to, or even just sometimes solutions that aren't the most finger friendly. And the way I would go about improving that, and it's not the easiest thing to improve, but do untimed solves. And I don't mean solves where you're trying not to pause and everything. That's good if you're trying to improve your look ahead, but I mean solves where you you're sitting on the couch watching TV, whatever, you do your cross and really look around, find a pair, think of different ways you can solve it. You know, take a minute or two and just really think about different ways you can solve it. What are the pros, what are the cons of each solution? And, you know, when you find you have to regrip, you know, ask yourself, do I really need to regrip here? Or is there a finger trick that, you know, I'm sleeping on? Stuff like that. And my last tip is for last layer, because I didn't touch on it much during your solves. But it's more of a mindset tip. Always try and improve your last layer. Don't fall into the mindset of, you know, I've learned OLL and PLL, so now I'm done. You know, always try and make small improvements. And for last layer, it's always going to be small improvements. So it might just be, you know, I save one regrip for one pre-AUF case for one OLL. You know, those are the kinds of improvements, you know, you can make, you know, once you get to, you know, a pretty good level, which you've reached. But that doesn't mean it isn't worth it. You know, I've known full OLL and PLL for many years now, and I'm still finding improvements and optimizations for my cases and for my executions. So I would encourage you to like have a spreadsheet or have some type of way to organize your cases and your algorithms in your head. And yeah, just don't slack on those. So that's the critique, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching. Yeah, best of luck in the future.